talk about. What do you think we're going to talk about tonight, guys? Guesses?
Well, we got to do, of course, the Boston John.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Yeah.
The main topic of tonight's show. Yeah.
Music.
You were telling me last night. Well, what did you say?
I want to do songs that we play at events that we feel like maybe are unique, that a lot of people don't play, that we like to play. Like signature tracks that we play.
Oh, okay.
Couple songs that we play that we don't think others play. That's the topic tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight's show is brought to you by DJ Event Planner. www.djeventplanner.com. We have other sponsors, including Electric Voice and several others. You'll see them scrolling in the little box here. So if you could do us a prop and go down into the description of this video and have a look at our other sponsors. Go ahead, I'll wait. What? Sorry, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're going to do start the show off like we do every week with Boston John's Record Roundup. And what I want to do just to so we have time to do our actual topic is I want to keep these like relatively short. Like, can we do 2 minutes apiece on these? Is that cool?
Sure. On the album?
About our records.
Yeah.
Record roundup.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Yeah, that's easy to keep short.
John going.
John goes.
Boston John is Lake Placid John today.
Yeah.
All the way up in 100 miles from Montreal. He's way that up in the mountains this week.
Nueva Yorko, John.
But the record roundup remains the same.
Nosebleed John.
Nueva York. It's so high up in the mountains. It snows every day. It's been 4 degrees for the last 18 hours. Awesome.
You just burned through an entire minute of your allocated time.
Oh, that's good. Well, I'll make it real quick with the records. I think it's been done, but I'm not sure. Did we cover Janet Jackson's Control from 86? Did we ever know?
I don't believe we did.
I don't believe we did. I was just talking to Jay before we started the show, and I just said, to get an artist to have, 5 or 6 solid radio singles on a record is like I've seen Unicorn these days. It just doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
So I pulled that one up because it was in my head, and I've been kind of humming her stuff on the drive. They play a lot of her, I think.
Yeah.
Like I heard Control on the ride. I heard Pleasure Principle, and I'm like, that never gets me.
Yeah, that's Romantic
800. Nasty was on that.
Yeah.
Nasty.
Romantic.
What have you done for me lately? He was on here. When I think of you, let's wait a while. I'm like, that's hit after hit after hit after hit.
Very good.
I didn't have time to look into the production who did it, but
I can tell you who did it. That was Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis at White Pine Studios in Minneapolis.
The whole thing, all the way through.
That's them. Yeah, that was Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. Essentially, what happened was, I guess Janet just wanted to get away from her family, so she literally went to Minneapolis. Said, "Look, I want to do my own thing, and I want you guys to go ahead and produce me." And they had already produced several things like SOS Band and a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that was their first major production was Janet, and they nailed it. And they wrote for her, and so that was. She's always been jamming Lewis.
Machine, you can hear the Minneapolis like all over that.
Yeah.
So I like that one.
Jay,
I'm going one of my favorite albums that every once in a while I'm reminded that I need to listen to in its entirety, and that is the soundtrack for a movie called The Endless Summer 2. And the artist is a young man from right outside of Nashua, New Hampshire, named Gary Hoey. So the album is a fully instrumental guitar, and it's guitar driven.
Okay.
Gary Hoey is in my opinion, in the same class as Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, John Petrucci. He's that like maestro on the guitar kind of guy. And the best track on it is called The Deep. It's this absolutely beautiful love song, but instrumental, which is hard to do, to make it loving. The two that DJs would already know, and I've used them a lot at gigs, believe it or not, is Lowrider by War, but no words, instrumental.
Right.
And the fun one that I've done at the end of the night for people is Linus and Lucy.
Oh, sure.
From Charlie Brown.
I've done it.
Again, it's done with like distortion and kind of metal guitars, but it's really interesting. He's done a lot of work, and he's kind of stayed under the radar. He hit in 93, I think. And his big hit, his first album, I believe, is Animal Instinct. But the big track on it was Hocus Pocus by Focus. He covered that.
Okay.
He got some good airplay on it, but that was kind of the first and last time.
Huh.
So the other thing he did that you may know him more notably for is he did Ho Ho Hoey Christmas, and he's done about 7 of those albums. But when you hear a really rockin' version instrumental of a Christmas song, probably 8 out of 10 times it's Gary Hoey that did it, because he was doing this back in the 90s, kind of pre everyone else doing it. So every November, every November, December, he tours pretty extensively, doing his Ho Ho Hoey Christmas tour, where he primarily plays the Christmas pieces, but obviously brings in his own other, recorded pieces as well. But I've met him about 6 times. Incredibly super down to earth, nice guy. Like, he's on Facebook, and pretty much 99% of his posts are him and his mom. His mom's been sick for the last few years. So he moved from Cawley, New Hampshire to Cawley, and then back. He was in the running to take over for J.K. Lee, I believe, in Ozzy's band. He had auditioned for Ozzy, and he was one of the guys Ozzy was really looking at.
So what's the name of the artist and album again?
So the artist is Gary Hoey.
Okay.
And the album is called The Endless Summer 2.
It's a movie soundtrack.
It's a movie soundtrack. There's a movie, obviously, called The Endless Summer 2.
Huh.
And he also played on The Endless Summer 1.
Okay, so there's 2.
I guess it's be a 1 if there's a 2, right?
Yeah.
Huh. No, but I mean, sometimes it's like, okay, this is part 2 of the soundtrack, like more Dirty Dancing.
Yeah, right.
The same movie, but okay. This is different movie.
The one you want is The Endless Summer 2. And it goes from metal to reggae to kind of chill to bluesy. It's a really good album. I mean, it's very summertime-ish. Like cruising around in the car, blasting this in the summer is a lot of fun.
Right on. Okay, I'm going to give you an album that's got one of my favorite songs of all time on it. And it has 6 whole songs on it.
Nice.
That's how they used to roll back then. The CD actually has 7 songs because there's an extended mix of the main track on it. And that would be Sheila E.'s The Glamorous Life, going back to Minneapolis. So this is basically a Prince album, but Sheila E. is playing percussion on it and singing over Prince's lead tracks. 6 songs, 3 really cool ones, 4 if you have the CD. So The Bell of St. Mark is a cool song. The Glamorous Life is on here. Absolutely one of my top favorite songs of all time. And the other one that's really cool on here that I think that you guys would enjoy, there's a song on here called Strawberry Shortcake. And it's an instrumental jam, and I think you'd dig it. It's pretty neat. Yeah, Strawberry Shortcake. It's credited to Sheila E. Now, if you look at the back here, it says Sheila E. and the Glamorous Life produced by Jamie Starr and the Starr Company. Well, Jamie Starr is Prince, so he was doing pseudo names and stuff. We got my hometown 93 QFM mainstream record sleeve on here too. For those of you from Milwaukee, this is a throwback for you. So there's my record.
Very nice. Good pick.
Yeah.
So weirdo songs we play at gigs that we think that maybe most DJs don't. And we like using them. It could be stuff you do during dinner. It could be for dancing. It could be for cocktail. It could be for anything at all. It could be club stuff you do. It doesn't matter. I could go first to set the pace on this, if you like. So I've turned a lot of people onto this song who I think play it now, and that is Paul Hardcastle's Rainforest, the original Rainforest from, I think it was 1984.
Right.
It's an electronic song. It's kind of smooth jazz. Paul Hardcastle's known as a smooth jazz artist. It's a great song to play. I like to play kind of in that transition time between when dinner's ending and we're getting ready to start the first dance and start dancing. Because I'm doing kind of mellow stuff up to that. And then when I put that on, it's like, hey, something's changed. Things are getting more up-tempo. Maybe I'll test lights out or something during that song, but it's a cool one. If you don't know it, check it out. Paul Hardcastle's Rainforest, the original 1984 version.
Right.
That's my first one.
Nice. All right. I'll land right around the same time period with you then, Brian. Because I was following this was an accidental find. I was chasing the, scratching beats of who I thought was Herbie Hancock. There was this amazing DJ. It turns out he's a legendary jazz musician. So of course we all bought a rocket and look, more of that. So then this other 12-inch single came out that had Chameleon on the flip on the front, and it had an overdrive on the flip, and that suddenly became a dinner song that nobody knew about, and I bought it just simply because I didn't know enough about who Herbie Hancock was. There made the collection, and now it's kind of jazz, a lot of keyboards, but kind of probably follows along the line of where your Paul Hardcastle was. This is known for it. You wouldn't play it as a banger dance, but there's a spot, and not everybody knows about it. That you just stumble into songs like that.
You're a little hot on your mic. It's not terrible, but a little bit.
Oh, I'm on.
Yeah, I know you're on your portable system here. It's not bad though. Just when you get loud, it distorts.
I'll take the levels down. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, good, perfect. Yeah, beautiful.
Okay, sounds good.
Jay,
I heard this as bumper music, and I don't remember where I heard it, but I Shazammed it, and I'd never heard it before. And it's a track by a band out of San Diego called Switchfoot.
Yeah,
and they're pretty big. They're a Christian rock band, but they're also very pop.
Yeah.
But they've got that, and we have a lot of that Christian realm out here. And it's a track called Float. And probably 9 out of 10 times when people come up and ask about it, when I play it during cocktail at weddings, they ask me if it's Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
Because it has a real chili pepper vibe to it.
Funky bass stuff.
It's just
slappy bass stuff.
Not as much the bass as much the guitar.
Okay.
It's got kind of more of a funk driven. John Frusciante's famous for that James Brown, Hendrixy, funky, kind of like cool progressions. And it's just got that driving kind of cool vibe. But once I found it, it immediately went into rotation towards the end of cocktail, going into dinner, or just in cocktail, depending on what I was playing. But it's just been a go-to for at least 2 or 3 years. It came out in 2016. But yeah, it's a great track. You just really can't go wrong with it.
I think for my next track, I'll go with one that I mentioned last week, and I played it for you, I think, Jay, and you liked it. It's something just kind of a warm-up track, just kind of a chill, cool track, and that's Voyager by Daft Punk.
Yeah, you did play that. That was a great track.
Yeah, that's off the Discovery album, which is one of my favorite albums, and I think I'm going to have that as my album next week, because I don't think I've ever thrown that one up there. That one's so good. It's a cool track.
A great track.
There's a lot of good tracks on the album, but there's something about Voyager that I personally like. So whenever I can get away with it, during a chilled cocktail time or dinner time or just ambient music time, I like to throw that track on. We're doing speed rounds tonight.
Excellent. Try not to be too wordy. Absolutely. What did I grab? That was a good one that no one knows about. I got it on a 45, and I don't remember if I heard it on like a Boston AM kind of an R&B station, but it came across on a tape. I was recording something off the radio, and it was on there, and I played it a few times, and people kind of jammed to it. The track was by a group called Lakeside,
okay,
and the track was Outrageous.
Okay, yeah,
outrageous, and for whatever reason, it never got on anybody's radar. I mean, we all knew the Midnight Stars, and we all knew the Shalimars and stuff. It was right.
Lakeside did Fantastic Voyage, didn't? Yeah,
Fantastic Voyage was the big one, obviously.
Yeah,
they got a pedigree at least. But that always seemed to work, because I like dropping the old school funk that people either never heard or forgot about it or just missed it somehow. Or that was good,
right?
I think it's like 80, 85, 86.
Sure,
I want to say, yeah, I like that one.
I am going to one of my fave ambient groups, 07, and a track called Give It Away. And first time I heard it was on a CSI episode, and it's very CSI instrumental.
Okay.
But when you play it in the context of an event, it's got a very kind of chill intro, and it's a constant build, but it never really crescendos to the point that you're like, oh, this is more than I need. It's just a beautiful song. And I think 07, with the amount of, stardom that Sia has drawn over the years, it still blows my mind how many DJs and people aren't aware of 07, which is really Sia, Sophie Barker, Tina Dykso. I mean, just 3 incredible vocalists and just a great backing electronic ambient show group. So I would highly recommend checking out anything by 07.
How far back does that stuff go?
2001.
Okay, so it's 20 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound it. It's like,
Sure.
Saint Germain and Air to me don't sound 20 years old. Because I think now people are trying too hard to make ambient music. They're making it ambient versus there people were like, I got this chord progression. Oh, let me try it on this. Let me do this. Let me do this. And you had a song. I think the way people create music has changed with technology, that they set out to make something and it sounds too kind of pre-manufactured to me. So I still like the older stuff.
I think that at this point of the show, I think it might be important to point out that most audiences that we play for as mobile DJs are going to be dancing to songs that they don't know. So a lot of the stuff that we're going to be talking about is more ambient, is more background or cocktail. There are a few exceptions, though. And
it's very difficult to break an audience on a track they don't know to dance.
Right. And some of the exceptions to that are some of the mashup songs that maybe the audience doesn't know, they're not familiar with, but they like the song that's featured in it, or the one that comes to mind that I know people know, it's not a secret, but I don't know a lot of people that play it, and I always get a good reaction from it, is Be Faithful by Crooklyn Clan. And that is Love Like This by Faith Evans and Fat Man Scoop rapping over it.
Oh yeah, the right audience, that song kills.
Yes, and it's like not a song that they maybe are listening to on Spotify, but they know it and they go nuts when they hear it. I like to open up my late 90s, early 2000s hip hop sets with that song. It's a fun one to use.
Oh, totally. I would anyone that doesn't know it, if you go to look for it, there's a clean and a dirty version.
Yeah, there is. And
I would highly suggest you put the word clean or radio edit.
Yeah, you're going to want to listen to it before you play it.
Who's Blanking Tonight is much better on the audience with grandma than...
Yeah, it gets a little... Yeah.
It's a little raunch.
So, yeah, go for the radio version.
It's a little saucy to it, yeah.
Now, do you mix out on the break, on the engine number 9?
No.
Out on that part? Okay.
No, I let the echo go, and then on top of that, I'll put Piece Up A-Town, Bop Bop, or Hot In. So Hot in here, because it kind of goes down, and I can just blend that and it makes sense.
I've always wondered if that was the track. I've never spent the time doing it, but I've always wondered if that's something I should have in my arsenal of, let me do it so that when I get done with the engine number 9, it goes into the original where the sample comes from,
Yeah, back it up.
Yeah.
I think that would be great if you had a car that would rather hear the Faith Evans version.
But not even Faith Evans. It's a Chair of Rock or...
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
The original Black Sheep
you're talking about.
Black Sheep.
That's the choice is yours, Black Sheep.
Yeah.
So the tough part with that, you can do it. Absolutely. And it's just kind of depends on what crowd's in front of you and such. But it's been my experience as a DJ that when you're doing things like that, whatever your next song is, especially in a set, has to be better than the last song. Has to be more appealing to the audience than the last song was. At mobile events, clubs are a little different because you could rotate the dance floor to get your bar revenue going. But that'd be a weird one to try to go into it. It'd be cool to do as an experiment.
Yeah, like if you did it as an intro, like then follow a parade or something. Like try to stick to that area.
Yeah,
that late 90s. Kind of hip hop.
That's about the right tempo too. Yeah, for sure.
That's, I never know where to go from Skilo. I wish, and I love playing it.
Taller.
Yeah, I love playing it. And there's a new track now that samples it, but it's the kind of song that you're like, you're making a, gin and juice. What's my name? Nothing but a G thing. There are those tracks that are like, okay, this is the period I'm playing in. Should I try to jump into the early 2000s hip hop, or should I kind of stay here for a second? Because I tend to, if California Loves kills, I'll try Snoop. If Snoop kills, I'll try Dre. I'll try Paperboy. I'll do, whatever.
Right.
But I sometimes tend to try to stay in a little bit of a pocket, and then kind of jump out of it. So
sure.
every time I've done the Crooklyn Clan track, it's like, do I want to try to go backwards or forwards? So I was just curious where you went with it, Brian.
I always thought of it as kind of like a theme song to a TV show. Because that's how I think of my set. It's like,
Right.
You hear the theme song to Good Times, you're going to watch Good Times.
Yeah.
And then after the song, you see the show. And that's kind of how I always thought of, as I guess, dare I say, as an artist, that's how I always kind of thought of how I presented it. It's like, okay, here's what's coming. This is where we're going here. And when it's over, then I go into more of a maybe mixed set kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I would just fade out of it.
I've never thought to open with it. It's always been a later in the set thing, like if I'm coming back down, or because it always seemed like the right high energy group. But I'm intrigued to think of now opening with it to set the tone.
It works for me. I don't know.
Yeah, no, there's no right and wrong in this world.
Right, exactly.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
But it's until you hear these ideas, you don't have it in your head to, you get stuck in that. I play this, then I play this, then I play this.
Right. No, I've done it other ways, but I found it most effective. For me, I found it most effective opening a set. And especially if I'm ending a set that's ending big, if I go into that, they just start jumping. It's like I might as well be playing Jump Around.
Yeah, no, that's
all out there.
where I've found it works. You come
It's a very short song. It's
it's not long,
short. Yeah.
but it's definitely got traction.
Yeah, it does. I like it. And
It's holistic on it.
again, not a big secret, but I don't think that's ever been on any Mobile Beat Top 200 list. So, yet play the hell out of it.
No, I don't think so.
And maybe that's what this is. Songs that probably aren't on the Mobile Beat Top 200 kind of thing. Maybe that's what we're doing tonight. Maybe that's what I should have called this. Songs that aren't on the Mobile Beat Top 200.
Tracks you should have in your arsenal.
Yeah.
Or tracks that work well for us, that aren't necessarily the big ones.
Lesser known gems for sure.
Yeah.
What do you got, John?
I'll try not to play the same song tools, but I will double back around on an art if something may not be familiar. But one of the little sneaky ones, when Oh Sheila was all the rage, I'd stay in that energy, and maybe 5 or 6 songs down the road, I'd sneak in digital display.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It was lesser known, and you never got the display. And it has the same energy. Oh, I love this too. Who is this? That's the same group you heard 4 seconds ago. Yeah, if you didn't, probably wouldn't have figured it out. They just know they like that groove too.
Sure.
So sometimes it's not to repeat, but if you can shuffle it in enough that they're into the vibe, then no one's going to complain. They're like, oh, we like this one too. More from that. Jermaine Stewart was another one. You could play a bunch of his in a row.
Yeah, you don't have to hear a close up.
We're all the same kind of. They're interchangeable, basically.
Well, I don't know. Say It Again always
Word is out.
really down tempo to me, and I didn't do a lot of Jermaine Stewart, really. Now that I'm thinking about it,
Take Your Clothes Off was about it from me.
we don't have to take our clothes off. Yeah, that was the ones that. And Say It Again. Those were the two that stick out in my mind. John probably knows more than I do. More songs, obviously, because those are the only two that ever stuck out in my mind.
I think when he passed, he kind of came back with a little bit of a resurgence. He died in 91, 94. It was a while, long time.
It was, it might have been late 90s. I don't know.
40 years. So
He died of AIDS, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
back on the radar, Yeah, it's 90s. But yeah, I mean that's you'd hear him, and he was R&B really with a pop beat, and everyone wanted to call him freestyle, and it just worked. Yeah. It worked in those sets. So that's the answer. I'll pick Ready for the World for the digital display for one that
Nice.
might not play off.
That's a cool one.
I'm going to go back to Cocktail because I found that this year, probably more than ever before, I was doing sets. And it was primarily because I would go to clients and say, you're not going to be there for Cocktail, but your group. What are you looking for? Vibe? You're looking for upbeat? You're looking for decades, like some 80s stuff, some 90s. Oh, we like 90s, early 2000s. So I really started falling into that pocket pretty hard. And one of the tracks that I think Brian got me back on that I'd kind of forgotten about from maybe 2-3 years ago from 1991 was Shanice with I
Love Your Smile.
Yeah.
And it's a funny track. When you play it, it always gets a reaction. Like it's one of those real forgotten jams. sort of like Pebbles Mercedes Boy is.
Yes.
So every time I play that, I get the same thing. Like people like, what? Wait a second. I completely forgot about this song.
Oh yeah, songs are fun.
Yeah, this is a great song. Yeah. So I would go with that. You know, dance, like Brian said, a lot of what we do at weddings and events for dancing is going to be things people know. So it's not always easy to kind of slide in a track that out of the blue, versus you have a lot of freedom for cocktail and dinner. And I don't think you should ever throw music away. You shouldn't just hit play and walk away from the decks. So if you can come up with a cool set that might delve a little deeper than normal, you know, I think that's part of the artistic approach.
You still want to sound like the next guy.
Yeah.
You know?
And I know most DJs aren't playing I Love Your Smile. They're not playing Flow.
Right.
They're not playing stuff like that. So I think that's what oftentimes sets you apart from the pack. Because you get at better age, you got to remember, if it's from 1991 and some 20-year-old at the time was really into it, you know, that 20-year-old is now 50-something.
Yeah.
So you got to stop and realize, wow, I'm throwing a net over young people, middle, and a little bit older who might have a good memory of this.
Sure. Yeah, and it's kind of tough for weddings sometimes, especially when you're doing background. You don't want to do, like for dancing, it doesn't matter so much. But for some reasons, slow songs and background music, you don't want breakup songs. You want just happy, lyrically happy songs.
Right.
Songs that aren't gonna, I don't know why this is, it just is. So you don't do Careless Whisper at a wedding. You just don't. But you'll do Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive. That's okay. And I'm not sure why.
Yeah, that seems to have skated under and over that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, one else done occasionally, kind of in the same spirit as I Love Your Smile, is the remake that Keith Sweat did of Just a Touch of Love. I really like that song. And that's up-tempo and fun, and I think he did a hell of a job on the remake, too. I prefer his version.
Yeah.
I'll throw that one on once in a while, too. Not a lot, but I'll do it when I got the right crowd in front of me,
I have an event coming up next week. Yeah, I think next Thursday, a 4-hour, more or less a corporate, open to the public expo style event. So no dancing, but a lot of announcing.
Yeah.
They're like, what are you going to play? And I know that the 60 core people that are there, but they've invited like 500 more people. And I don't know those people, but they want a playlist put together ahead of time. So I'm like, it's going to be 80s, 90s, country, chill, jazz. Like, I'm just trying to pick out of thin air because I don't want it to be too upbeat. I don't want it to be too sleepy, but I also want it to be like every few songs is a country track. So, because I know most of the audience coming in will probably be into country. So I'd like every walk of life to leave and go, man, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, no, it was great talking to people. Yeah, the music was really cool too, because we rarely set out to please everyone, but this is one of those rare events where I don't have anything to go by. Like, go ahead, try to please everybody. Okay.
That's something that I had a lot of practice.
Beige.
Yeah. I want those stripes of color every once in a while. Like a track like Flow. Like a Flow track wouldn't make sense, but it'll still get played. Well, it won't be the perfect mixes as much as the diversity of somebody will leave going, yeah, we love Christian rock. I can't believe he played Flow. That was awesome. Get his card. It's kind of, because it's an open to the public invite.
Right.
Kind of an event.
Right. It's a super huge audition. It's like, here's a blank palette. What do you do? How do you paint a perfect night for 20 different walks of life out of thin air? We do it all the time.
Yeah.
I had a lot of practice with this when I was working Safe House for all those years, because it was a restaurant until like 9, and then, actually 10. So if I start at 9, sometimes I start at 8, I was playing to a restaurant crowd, and that was parents and their kids and everybody.
Yeah.
So you just, but I didn't pander to anyone. I never did that. I never thought, oh yeah, I'll play the latest Disney song. No, I'll do things that are cool and they may not even know or they forgot about, but I'll make sure they're cool.
Well, that's what I'm trying to come
Yeah.
up with. I'm not trying to, in my head, go, here's the top 10. Like, I won't even look at Billboard before the gig.
Right.
Oh, I should play that Drake track. No, because that's not the vibe. You know,
But having said that, I mean, if I were you, I might play Lizzo About Damn Time. I might just throw that on.
something like that might get in because it's slow enough.
Right. It's not crazy, but it's up tempo and it's nice. But you mix it with other things. I don't know.
My only thing is if I was standing there playing, we wouldn't be having this conversation, but they've already made it clear. The client's like, yeah, if you could be walking around with your wireless mic making announcements. I'm like, oh yeah. Like maybe just put together a mix. I'm like, oh, okay. So in my head, I'm like, I'll put together, I don't want to do an actual mix as much as like a playlist, but I also don't want all that downtime of 3-4 seconds play, 3-4 seconds play. So the challenge this week is, and I more or less said, I'll come up with probably a 2-hour mix and either repeat it or go on to something else.
You know what the perfect tool for this job would be for you?
What's that?
Mixmeister.
Oh yeah, where you can drop stuff in.
Yeah, because you can go up there. You go, okay, this is what I think I want to do. I'm going to line 5 up, and I might change the order, and I'm going to go out here and make announcements and do what I got to do.
Yeah,
and then I'll come back to it, and then I'll change it up a little bit instead of play a song, mix out with your faders or whatever to the next song. Deck 1, deck 2, deck 1, deck 2. That would be a really cool tool for what you're doing here.
Yeah, no, it totally would. And I mean, what I'll end up doing is in the next couple of days, go through my playlist, probably make a crate with 100+ songs, and then kind of whittle that down and then make an hour or 2 mix, record it in Serato and just have that so I can kind of bounce back and forth.
Yeah.
Because it's also, like John said, it's a bit of an audition because now it's all these people who are now looking at me like, okay, what are you going to do?
Well, what if you did 15, 20-minute sets?
Yeah, 5 or 6 songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if you do that?
That's probably
5 or 6 workouts. Yeah.
I just like it, my only concern would be how much I'm going to fight to be more DJing than talking, but I know there's a ton of talking.
Yeah.
I know the expectation is a constant, like, have you ever done one of those build a meal type fundraisers where I've done probably 8 of these where you've got 150, 200 people, they're at tables and this table does rice, this table does beans, this table does something else, and they're putting together meals. And you're literally playing a song for 45 seconds going, hey, table 10 just did their 100th meal. Yeah, right. Let's make some noise. 30 seconds. Whoa, table 16 on 100. You're constantly talking. And I'm hoping it doesn't become that obnoxious.
Well, the rule that I try to use with any kind of MC stuff, and then people want MCing at their events, and that's fine. And even when I, several gigs I've done when they said, well, do you interact with the crowd? My response used to be yes. Now my response is, I do when it's needed, but if it's not needed, I don't. Like, I don't want to interrupt conversation.
Nope.
I don't want to kill the flow with something. If something's happening, let it happen. Let it breathe.
That's more.
Yeah, but if okay, well, they look bored. Okay, now let me talk and engage them. But if they're already engaged, why open my mouth?
Right. I mean, this is 60 tables, 6-foot tables with a different business at each table. The goal is for those tables to sell their business to the general public that walks through. They don't need me interrupting them.
Right.
Constantly. So I'd said that to them about, I'm happy to make the announcements. I'm happy to walk around a little bit, but I think the announcements will start to get a little bit canned. It'll be, every 15, 20 minutes. Let's remember, get each table to sign off on your, drawing sheet to enter, drawing to win, blah, 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 blah.
Right. The necessary.
This one, I want to thank the sponsor.
Like housekeeping stuff you have to do. Yeah.
Yeah. A little voice of God-ish.
Right.
Will you come in with those announcements?
Right. PSAs. Yeah.
But I also want the ability to do my job, which is I don't know who the crowd is yet. I know the makeup of a general Temecula crowd. but I don't know what I've got in front of me yet. It could be 90% left. It could be 90% right. So I really want to be in the moment, because I think that's the most genuine being a DJ, is when you're standing in front of people.
Yeah.
Which your job is planning until you're at the event.
That's a unique gig, though. That is a unique.
Yeah.
Something that you have to do this, but you'll work it out.
It'll be fine. It's the expectation you put on yourself is always much bigger than the expectation they put on you.
I'd be really.
They'll be happy
to hear how it goes for you.
Oh yeah, I'll let you know.
You know, I was talking to John.
On a Thursday, so
I was talking to John Young today, and he's pretty cool. I love John, and he was saying, "Boy, I watch your Tuesday night shows, and wow, you got your hands full." I'm like, "Yeah, I do."
It's in the contract.
Wow, Dave just talks sometimes. Like, yeah, he does.
Yep, it's in the contract.
Goes. Sometimes I'm not sure what your topic is. I'm like, yeah, I don't know either. If I had one in mind, we'd never.
Even get it.
Magic. Well, that's why moment, John.
That's why I was making an effort this week to like actually, have a topic, and we covered it. It's okay. We went off of it, and that's okay. But he has something to title this video.
Yes.
And I don't want to discourage you.
I think it's your turn, by the way.
To what?
To give another song.
Oh, are we back to that? I thought we left it because we were talking about your thing. So you want to talk about songs we
just intertwined my thing, being like most DJs are going to get these.
Oh, okay. Okay. Right on. Okay, so
you've done car shows. I've done car shows. John.
Yeah.
You have two approaches: the obligatory car songs, or
which is boring,
the cruising tracks of a generation, depending on the cars and the age of the people. I'm a fan of trying to just cast a wider net than a narrow net. I've never been impressed when DJs are like, and I've seen it more with younger DJs who are very driven by their genre. And they're very good at a genre, but they don't leave that genre. So you're getting a lot of Drake when I look around me and go, man, this is not a Drake crowd.
No, right.
You can't really, announce that to somebody when it's their job to figure out who their crowd is.
That's a really hard thing to learn when you're a young DJ.
Yeah.
Because you have it in your head that this is going to be great because you think it's great. And what happens, I think, as you mature as a DJ is that you actually start to, if you're lucky, you start to develop empathy for your crowd. And then you can start more stereotyping who your people are in front of you, what they may like. And if they say, hey, can we hear some Skinner? You know that they're going to like, Tom Petty and REO Speedwagon and some Aerosmith stuff. You just know this stuff. But when you're young, you don't. You just have it in your head what you think is cool, and everyone else should agree with you because you have a microphone. System.
That gig I did a few weeks ago, 1,200 people, 2-hour cocktail party, and the host came up and said, "We do this all the time." I said, "Great." I said, "I've got 4 speakers lining the side of the patio. I've got this system. I'm good to go." He's like, "The crowd is 30 to 60s, not too loud." Okay. And at the end of the night, he's like, "This is the best music we've ever had in an event." And I said, "Well, I'm really happy to hear that." I said, "You gave me the information I needed, 30 to 60s. I saw the crowd in front of me. I played the 80s and 90s rock. I played some, Elton John because he was playing 200 feet away that night in San Diego. Some people," he said, "You can play Elton John too. A lot of these people are going to the concert." Okay, more good information. But at the end, he's like, "Yeah, I don't understand why DJs have to make it so about themselves." And I said, "Well, that's the problem." He goes, "Yeah, especially when we get younger DJs, I cringe because I know I've got to go up 10 times and tell them to turn down and tell them to not play so much hip hop." And I said, "Well, they're doing what they feel is best for what they do."
Right.
I don't care if I hear one song tonight I like. I'm not playing music for me. And I think that's the differentiation in older DJs. You stop making it about you and you make it about the room. I've never done an event where I said, "Man, I hope I can play some Typo Negative tonight because I'm really digging some Typo Negative here. How am I going to slide this in?"
Yeah,
I
the gig, like the club gig I did, and this was not a wedding or whatever. It's a little different. I had some songs that I was thinking to myself, if I get the opportunity to play them, I'm going to play them. But I didn't get the opportunity to play a lot of them. I had two that I really wanted to play, and I wanted to figure out how to get them in there. And it didn't happen. And I really wish it would have, because it would have been fun if I had played them. But yeah, you got to consider what's in front of you.
That's why they're paying you. They're not.
Tiesto,
they're paying you to be Tiesto. We're not on that level yet. We're still getting paid to read.
Right. You figure it out, and then after you figure it out, it's like, okay, I guess this is what we're doing tonight, and then you go with it.
But that's the fun of it, I think. It's always the reaction time. You play a Shanice, or you play a Crooklyn redo, you play whatever, and the crowd goes a certain direction, and that voice in your head goes, you should play this next, and you do it out of character, and it kills, and you realize that's what I'm here for. I'm here to see a guy grab his ankle and drop Vanilla Ice, and suddenly the room erupts. And you're like, that's the fun of this job. That's the joy of the end of the night going, man, that was killer. And you're making memories. I mean, you're providing the soundtrack for the memories for a party.
Something else that I will, and just what you said there reminding me of this. You're talking about the end of the night. I tell you what's fun is the beginning of the night. I like the beginning of the night better than the end of the night. Because at the beginning of the night, they're sober.
And they're open.
Yeah,
they want to party.
Yeah. By midnight, 1 o'clock, are you kidding me? No, it's fine. Nobody wants to hear this. You need to play my song.
Hey, if I moved to Milwaukee tomorrow to be a DJ, I'd say what I say out here. I know you want an 8-hour reception, but I'm just telling you, in a perfect world, in my 26, 27 years experience, hour cocktail, maybe an hour and 15, your dinner, your special dances, and then 2 to 3 hours for dancing. 2 hours can be fine. I've done weddings where hour 3 just dies. And you look around and go, if we'd quit at 2, this would have been ideal. And I know you do longer and everyone does longer. And I don't care. I really don't. That's not my gig. It's your gig. I don't need.
It's just McGrath.
But I don't need, I've seen the videos, and I always snicker to myself when I get DJs like, yeah, man, 6 hours in the dance floor and it's packed all the time. And then I see those excerpt videos on YouTube and I'm like, wow, I guess the difference between me and you is my version of packed is more than 6 people.
Yeah.
Like, I would much rather leave a 120 person wedding.
But you were there, weren't you?
Yeah. When it's 100 people and they're raging on the dance floor, believe it or not, that's a great time to end. Now, it's very easy to argue, no, you got to end in 3 hours when it's only 6 people left. No, that means that you overstayed your welcome.
Yeah, I tell you, but while you're ahead is what you're saying.
Yeah, 100%.
There is definitely argument for that. And I've done that. I've said to a client before, hey, you know what? We could keep going or we could kill it now on a high.
Yeah, and that's the memory people have. How was the wedding? It was awesome. It was packed.
Leave them wanting more.
Yeah, 100%. Because there is a fine line. I think I told you guys years ago, I had a thing with the Padres. I did the CFO's daughter's wedding. I did the director of tickets wedding. And then I got hired by the director of IT. Well, the director of tickets wedding, his wedding was supposed to go till 11. Well, at 10 o'clock, I started seeing the crowd thinning a little. And I went up to him and I said, let me play 2 more fast songs and then let's do your last song. He's like, what time is it? I said, it's 10 after 10 or 10:15. What time are we supposed to end? I'm like, 11. He goes, you want to end early? I said, I promise you, at 11, there won't be a quarter of these people here. I said, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but he goes, yeah, well, I said, how many times have you been to a game that you wished had ended in the 6th inning and you knew you had 3 more to go? And he's like, okay, I did the last 2 fast. We ended around 10:25, and by 10:45, everyone was gone. If they'd wanted to stay and dance till 11, they would have stayed and drank till 11.
We do pretty good.
The second I was done, they were running out the door. And
yeah.
on this where like suddenly you notice 3 or 4 couples giving the bride and groom a kiss goodnight, and they're not 90-year-olds, they're like 30 somethings, and just you get it in your head like this is going to start trending. Once people see other people leave, it's like you open the floodgates sometimes.
I understand why.
Line at the coat check.
I understand why you think or you feel the way you feel about it. I totally get it. It makes sense. I'll tell you what's happening here. Because, much like yourself, I don't just go up there and play songs. I mean, there's a reason to play things. There's times for certain things. This is what happens. Most of the time, dinner's at 6. It's just what it is. Okay. And maybe dinner goes to 6 or 7 or 7:30. It might even go to 8 sometimes. It just depends on the size of the room and what has to happen. So let's say it goes to 7:30, 8 o'clock. Okay, that leaves 4.5 hours. What happens here is that grandma stays until 10. That's when it's time to go home. I don't know why it is, but what do I want to call them? Seniors. Okay.
Older.
They're staying until 10. All right. So what I'm doing from 7:30, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock is doing family hour. That's what I'm doing. So after 10, that's when it's time for the young people to have their fun. So do I have half the crowd? Yeah, sometimes, but they're strong half and they're ready to have fun and they get 2 hours to do whatever the heck they want to do. That's kind of how it works. Generally, that's how it works here. Mm-hmm. That's the formula. So if everybody, was a high school student, yeah, 2 hours is fine. That's no problem. But when you've got, 7 to 70 or 9 to 90 or whatever, the night needs to be broke up a little different sometimes. And it does in that regard. And that's why it works that way. So,
well, and the other two things
I got for you.
No. And I totally understand that. But pre-COVID, I did a fair amount of outdoor events.
Yeah.
Post-COVID, I mean, since 2020, I've done inside of a building weddings. I've done 3. That's it. Every wedding I've done has been outside. So once you're outside, now you run into noise variance.
Sure.
So I don't have an option.
Yeah.
So I have to approach it as, you know what? Let's go strong till 10 because I want you, grandma, and all your friends to just be raging. And the other thing is out here versus your neck of the woods, I think I'm probably right about this. This is a big destination wedding location, which means a lot of grandmas and relatives are flying into these things and they want to hang out with them afterwards.
We want
to hang out with them tomorrow. Like, nothing against the finer Milwaukee area, but you hear people talk about Hawaii, San Diego, maybe Texas, Florida. And I think because of that, people have either travel plans the next day or they have things they want to do with family afterwards.
I'll give you an example of how it goes. Doesn't always go this way, but it goes this way a lot. Let's just say half the time it works this way. I have an event that I booked this week, contracted it, done. I was telling you about it the other day. Yesterday, I think I told you that I booked it.
Yep.
So
you're trying to talk about a time.
Yeah, I was trying to talk about a time. That was one thing I was going to talk about, but since we're on to this other thing with destination, let's talk about that because she's from here.
Okay.
He's from Arizona. So all of his AZ people are coming. We have a lot of that where someone's from here, but they went to college in California or in Washington or in New York or even overseas sometimes. And so, yeah, some people are from here, but the other half of the people are not. And we've got people who met in college. Oh my gosh, the guest list gets really bizarre. I remember doing one right before COVID, and it wasn't even a big wedding. I think it was only like, I want to say it was 75 people, but it felt like a big wedding because they were so much fun. Some of the people were from Nepal. Some of the people, they were from all over the world. Essentially, culturally, it was all over the place. We were doing all kinds of music and just going back and forth, and everybody was kind of sharing their culture and their dance with each other. It was really, really cool. But that happens a lot. So we do have that where, okay, we are from out of town. We are staying in a hotel. We do have a babysitter. We do have kids that we have to do something with. And we don't really know anybody here. So we've got to go back to the hotel with our kids at this time because they're tired.
Right.
We have a degree of that. We don't usually have the entire crowd doing that, but we have a large portion of the crowd doing that.
Right. Well, and like I said, the biggest variance on the table is I'm working in, I did a wedding in September and they did it in their backyard in Orange County in Anaheim.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 10 o'clock noise variance. And the groom goes, we're going to switch from 4 to 10 and go 5 to 11. Is that okay? I said, I just need to give you the heads up. If the cops come by at 10:30, they can shut us down. Oh, I told all the neighbors, they're all cool with it. I've already invited everyone, yada, yada. The famous last words. So we went to 11. So I'm like, folks, good night. Congratulations. And I start packing up. Then he comes up, he goes, how much to go to 12? I'm like, seriously? I'm like, I'll do it. But again, as long as you understand you got to pay for at least the half hour if the police show up. No, I think it's cool. Damned if I didn't play till 12. And he comes walking up to me and I go, there's no way. I can't continue this till 1. At this point, and I said, when he came up, I go, I think 1's going to be too late. Plus, there's only 4 of you left. He turns around. He's like, what? I'm like, you? Yeah, there's 4.
That's what you say. Yeah, no problem. You get 700 cash right now.
I said to him, I go, I'll play softer volume. I can play love songs. He goes, no, she's going to tell you a great job and give you the money. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Because I didn't, now before that, if you told me that he would extend it 2 hours and the last hour was great till about the last 20 minutes and then people just faded because they've been drinking all day. So they were done. I mean, I know everyone's a cool, tough guy, but you start putting in those 7, 8, 9 hours of drinking, it catches up.
So when are you going to come to Wisconsin and gig with me this year? Because you're going to do it this year, right?
I tried to, yeah.
Try to.
Yeah.
He's not going to do it, kids.
I got to buy this stuff I need. I need the piece of hay in my mouth. I need the overalls. You've been there's probably vaccines.
Dude, you've totally been here. You know what it's like.
Oh, yeah.
You need to pick a weekend, block it out.
All right,
I'm working.
Ding, 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 ding. It's family hour.
Yep, go by Jason. There's just nothing but pot smoke everywhere.
Oh, yeah, out here, please.
Everyone's living in homeless tents and smoking pot.
Welcome to sunny Southern California, everybody. And now everything's flooding. I'm sure it's making the news for you guys.
I think Jay would have a very, 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 very different tone if he were to come up here, stay a few days, take the day to gig, but take some time to have some fun too. About what we do and why we do it the way we do it. How it works.
Now,
you would think you would have, you need to see it.
You got to realize something. We never touch on this. Before all these outdoor events, I only work indoors. Like Park Manor weddings, they all started at 4 and ended at either 11 or 12. Okay. So I used to do those weddings week in and week out.
Right.
They were fine. And in the hotel's environment where they're staying there, it's even easier because people start leaving and coming back and going. And, I just, for my marketplace, and I would say this about most markets. I know everyone's got this, like Christian in Canada. Oh, all our weddings start at 3 and go till 1. They're either 3 to midnight, 3 to 1. What he fails to tell is in the summertime, the sun is setting in his area at like 10 o'clock.
Right.
I'm like, oh, so you're only getting like 2 hours of like dark dancing. He's like, yeah, usually.
Yeah.
Well, what are you doing from 8 to 10? He's like, well, I'm playing dance music, but they're not dancing the whole time. And the goal of a DJ shouldn't be to compete with another DJ. It should be to compete with themselves and deliver the best they can for that environment, that client, and that element. And that's why I tell people all the time, like, should we extend an extra hour or two? I'm like, honestly, no. You should take the 2 hours dancing. And if it's raging, I'll be the first to tell you half an hour before it ends. If you want to extend, do it now. Don't wait till 10 o'clock and I've killed it. And then I'm like, good night. And then say, oh, let's do another hour.
Oh, that's
Now the
back up again.
air's sucked out of the room. Because I've purposely gone to all my bangers. That
I've had me before.
I'm hitting them over the head. And now you're like, oh, what do you think? And I'm like, let me drop down into the 90s now, 101 BPM or something, because I can't continue at this pace. I've already killed that regime.
I don't know, kid. Sounds like an excuse to me for not coming here.
No. It's not an excuse. But it wouldn't. I wouldn't.
He doesn't.
Going. Wow, this is.
He doesn't understand.
You had a 4 hour. I've had those. I mean, that was most of my.
You don't understand why I do it.
No, I know why you do it, because you've got it in your head that this is how it's going to go.
I'm like that video with Rick James and Charlie Murphy. You got to rewind it and listen.
No. You do the first 2 hours as family hour, and then the last 2 hours as, check it out, I'm playing all hip hop because it's the younger crowd. I can see how and why that works, but it's sort of like when DJs would say to me 20 years ago, oh, I tell all my clients I'm not playing anything cool till at 10 o'clock because I want to make sure that like the old people are good. And my approach was, why can't the old people dance to hip hop? Like, why can't
they can. And I'm not playing. I'm not playing. I already had a little lamb until 10 o'clock.
No. I don't think you are. But I'm a fan of like play everything to everything.
I'm probably not doing jump around because grandma's not going to jump around. You know,
but she might be funny on the dance floor a little bit to it. And that'll,
she's going to get hurt. She's going to get
my logic has always been old new, meaning if I play Staying Alive, I might follow with Usher, because the crowd that dances to Staying Alive may not be the crowd that dances to Usher, but I wouldn't mind taking a shot at making them that crowd.
Sure.
So if they come out and the kids join Grandma for Staying Alive, if I can get her to stay on for Usher, now there's a memory of Grandma dancing to Usher. Now you're the best DJ in the world.
You have so many preconceived notions as to what I do.
No. But I don't think what you do is that different from what I've done or would do in the same environment. I don't think I'd walk out of there like, oh man, how do you deal with these crowds? Maybe recede, but I mean, how do you deal with these crowds? I have no understanding of these people. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. No indoor plumbing here because we're not California and we don't have that stuff here.
Oh, please. Our indoor plumbing is now out front with the floods. It's worse.
All right, kids. I'm going to put a fork in it and put everyone out of their misery. Thanks for watching. We will see you next week. Take care. Goodbye.